Good morning, everybody. I'm Jesse Ziegler.
And I'm Quinn Cody.
And this is the Dakar Rally Daily show from Stage 8.
Yes, it is.
Ooh, we're getting into later stages.
Stage 8.
See the light at the end
Second
of
week.
I can see the light at the end of the tunnel where I can sleep in past 4:30.
Yeah. Dude, let me tell you, last night was rough.
Today's the day that it started to be old getting up that early. And I don't want to like over exaggerate how much work I'm doing. This isn't that much work. Like I'm just sitting here. Like it's waking up.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing I do during Dakar Rally.
Yeah. And sick kids at home keeping us awake all night.
Yeah, the germs are flowing through the house. This is the season where everybody's coming back with all the germs, and it's just really, really annoying.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we can't complain too much because we haven't been riding for 8 days straight across the desert, beating the hell out of our bodies.
Yeah, a lot of beat downs going on. We got another beat down today. Pablo Quintanilla crashed out of the race today. Just get to that terrible news, but he's okay. I think he's got a shoulder injury. Didn't look good. He looked like he was in pain, similar to everybody else we've seen picking themselves up off the dirt out here. Yeah. If you want to go on social media and look at Brad Cox's crash from stage 6.
Oh man, ugly.
Brad, what happened? It looked like somebody put a landmine out there and he hit it and he blew off of his bike into the air.
Yeah. 100 meters from the start.
Yeah, like 100 miles an hour going 100 meters from the start and just blowing up. And we're glad he is humorous enough to make a funny meme about it with Ricky Bobby.
Clearly, I mean, he's a tough kid if he's okay after that because, man, that was ugly. And Pablo's crash didn't look very good today either. You know, Pablo and his 13th Dakar, unfortunately, had a big one. He's had a few big ones over the years, but he was conscious and it looked like he was in a lot of pain. But I think they're taking care of him. So
big news today because of Pablo's crash. There was some confusion at the stage who was going to be placing where because both Luciano Benavides and Adrien Van Beveren stopped and assisted him. And in the footage, you can see him just really sitting there and making sure he's okay. So they got passed by a half hour worth of people, and then they started racing again. So they had to wait until they got back and analyze all the data before they gave the result. But Luciano Benavides ended up getting the stage win today, which is kind of fitting because he had the stage win and it got taken away as some bonuses got shaken out earlier in the race. And it's good. KTM's got 6 out of 8 stage wins this year, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, just another KTM at the top of the charts here, and Luciano deserves it. Obviously, he's coming back from an injury and riding really well. It's good to see him, on top.
So it looked like him and Adrien had stopped for about 30 minutes with Pablo, and then got going again. And there can be some strategy in that too, right? Okay, yeah, for sure you're going to stop and you're going to help, and then maybe they hang out a little longer than they need to. Prep their goggles, have a little food, and kind of psych themselves up for what they know is coming.
Of the assault on the rest of the day.
Yes.
Well, good for them for stopping. Obviously, that's part of the sport. It's a requirement. You got to stop and help people, and they did, and it worked out well for them. Adrien Van Beveren, second place. He's 2 minutes off of Luciano's time today, and Tosha Schareina, who led a bunch today, up there with Ricky Brabec, out of the gate. He got 4 minutes of bonus time, which dropped him into third place, and he's only like 12 seconds behind, or not even 12. How many seconds is that? 8 seconds behind Adrien Van Beveren in third. So pretty tight race at the top today. Yeah, these guys were close.
Top 3 is tight, and for Tosha, leading out quite a bit of the stage. I think he with that all that bonus time, him and Daniel Sanders were up front leading, and so that's a good podium finish for him. But it may have changed a little bit of the swing, right? So now he's on the opposite end of the swing of Sanders. So
yeah, right.
But it seems like he's playing it a little safer in a way of being able to finish third. But I think this was strategically a good finish for Schareina.
Yeah, Ricky Brabec, 4th place, 4:21 off the pace today. He was leading a lot provisionally today on time checks and just couldn't keep the lead out there to take the stage win, and he's 4 minutes off the pace. Skyler's right behind him, like 30 seconds behind him in 5th place. Michael Doherty, Rally 2 competitor off the top. I think he won the Rally 2 competition today. He's in 6th place, 6 minutes back. Then Daniel Sanders, 7th place, 6:44 back. And if you know how much time gap he had, 6 minutes is manageable, and he'll probably be in a really good spot tomorrow to make that up and more again.
Yeah, because really, I mean, he only lost about four and some change to Schareina, who's the important one.
Yeah.
He's not concerned as much with Luciano Benavides and Adrien Van Beveren. So unfortunately, it looks like Daniel got a minute of penalty, maybe a speed zone or something.
Edgar Canet, the phenom in Rally 2 rookie, everything rookie, 7 off the pace. He led today, got 2 minutes of bonus time. So, man, he's getting invaluable experience up front of this race.
Yeah, I mean, what it looks like now is Edgar is just tucked in right behind Daniel Sanders. He finished second to Sanders yesterday, and
that's a good.
He's just following and learning.
It's a good education right there.
You know, you can't beat that really. I mean, he's learning from the best guy in the race right now, and you know, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the next few years with Edgar Canet.
Yeah, notable. Sanders also got a ton of bonus time today, 6 minutes and 42 seconds. So you know, he won the stage yesterday, was leading out in front and gobbled up time, which you know, that's the way the races ran now. Nacho in 9th place, 7 minutes up. Oh, let me see. Yeah, 7:33 behind. And then Rui Concalves on the Sherco. Get that Sherco on the top 10. He's about 14 minutes off today. So that's how the stage broke down. The overall rankings, predictably, you know, Daniel Sanders in the front. He's got 11-minute gap. So he didn't lose that much, right?
No, it's just kind of bouncing back and forth between, you know, 15 minutes one day, 11 minutes the next day. So it's this 3-minute swing between Schareina and Sanders.
Yeah, it's, geez, what a great race for Daniel Sanders. Schareina and Van Beveren are second and third. There's about a 10-minute gap between those two to that third spot. Luciano Benavides is up in fourth now. He's 30-48 back. Ricky's basically tied with him in fifth place, 30-56 back. So those guys would really love to be on this podium at the end of the race, but they're 10 minutes off of that podium pace. And what do you think? Well, we can't tell what's going to happen, but they're not out of podium contention yet because we all know a lot can happen.
Yeah, to me, it seems like Luciano is now making a push forward, and you know, I think he's going to be stronger in the second week, and it looks like maybe Ricky had put a lot of effort in the first week, and you know, now he's maybe kind of heading the other direction for week 2. Maybe his motivation is a little bit down. You know, who knows physically, right? You know, everybody, we see this a lot is you put in so much effort the first week, and then the second week your body's just trashed, right? And you just don't have the reserve that's necessary. And maybe you know, I mean, Ricky's a tough, strong dude, but his training wasn't what it needed to be or what he wanted it to be leading up to this Dakar. So we could be seeing some of the effects from that crash or that injury. He didn't even crash really, but his injury back in October.
Yeah. Broken tibial plateau in October, and he's racing Dakar in January. So Ricky's out there definitely in pain, even though he hasn't mentioned it one single time. In any of his interviews or conversation with us, he's never talked about a physical issue. He's always just like, no, happy to be here. Get to ride my dirt bike. I'm pumped. It's the best job in the world. And you're like, your leg hurt? Not talking about it. Nope. Yeah, so Ricky and Skylar, they're 30 minutes and 37 minutes out of the pace for the overall. That's 5th and 6th overall. Nacho's right behind them. He's about an hour out. Edgar, hour and a half. Tobias, hour and a half or 2 hours. And Svitko, 10th overall. Top privateer. This is a race in a race. Top privateer this year is coming down between Tobias Ebster and Stefan Svitko. So literally one of the youngest people in the race and one of the most established veterans of this race are both on privateer bikes, which means they're not on a factory team. They don't have factory motors, that kind of stuff. They're truly paying their own way to get there. Sure, they have support from a team, but everybody else above them, factory bike, factory mechanic, factory pits, factory tent. Everything is factory. These guys are definitely the steer down. And man, that race is going to be tight because it's about 30 minutes now.
It's pretty close.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not 30.
It's 5 minutes apart.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah, so 5 minutes between 9th and 10th here. Yeah. And then it's quite a big jump up to Edgar Canet in 8th. But it's, you know, pretty cool to see these guys, going at it. And Svitko, I mean, it's so cool to see him up there in the top 10. He's a legend.
Yeah, I love it. I love this, finding a new race inside the race to follow. And privateer race is going to be good because think about it, like Ebster's not slowing down. He wants to catch Edgar Canet. He wants to beat that factory bike too. And if you missed yesterday's show, go check it out because we have Heinz Kindergartner, Tobias Ebster's uncle, on the show. And man, talk about a legend. And he talks a lot about Tobias earning his own way here. If you were Heinz Kindergartner's nephew, you think you could just walk into rally and everybody would give you a bike. And they are not making it that way for young Mr. Ebster.
Yeah, Tobias has had some struggles this year with budget and even raising enough money to get to the race. He raced Morocco, and I heard a story from one of the guys, and from what I understand is when he finished racing Morocco, he was out of money. And somehow he got
I love this story.
he got a ride or a flight back to Barcelona, but then he didn't have enough money to get home to Austria. So he had to stay in Barcelona for a few weeks, and I think he worked in someone's shop, worked on some bikes, and made enough money to sleeping on somebody's couch or somebody's floor, and made enough money to finally get a ticket to fly back to Austria. So, he's putting every last penny he has into his racing, into his Dakar effort, and it's awesome to see him here battling it out for the top 10.
It really is. That's the way to do it. Good job, Tobias. We should hear from frontrunner Daniel Sanders after the stage today. See what he's got to say with his quote from the organization.
Yeah, it was all right. It was very, very tricky at the beginning, and I lost a lot of time early. But after that, I got in a really good rhythm, and it was a faster, sort of easier navigation. So you had to be really switched on because we lost so much time in the beginning. It was really important to stay focused all day and push all the way to the end. But opening a lot of the stage was good, and I had a really good rhythm. I felt comfortable and happy with the technical nav. So it was good finish, strong finish compared to a bad start.
Starting position will be important for the last stages. So what the plan?
Hopefully we're in the middle of the top 10. It'll be nice to finish around 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere here for tomorrow. We're back. I think tomorrow is going to be the last difficult navigation day before we head down to the empty quarter. So it was good to start up front today, and then we'll see how we finish up tomorrow. But happy with the position where we are, and I'm sure it'll be good.
So tomorrow will be very important.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a real important stage. So it's the same as today. So every day has been important. So tomorrow's will be probably just as important as the rest.
So he sounds like so locked in. He's not worried about which day is going to be which. He's like, they're all important. Just dialed in. Like, this guy's a machine right now.
Yeah, Sanders, he's really confident right now. He knows he's on the right side of things for the strategy that the KTM guys are playing. So he's right where he wants to be. Mm-hmm. He's finishing where he wants to finish every day. Yeah. And, I don't see how anyone's going to outride him at this point. So it's going to come down to just him being on every day, and not making any big mistakes. Yeah, and he's got this thing.
Yeah. Here's Ricky Brabec, leader of the stage for a while today, but didn't quite polish it off for a stage win. But we want to hear from him because he's always got some good insight into what's going on there, and he definitely has no filter. That's why we like Ricky. We like hearing the real stuff that's going down with Ricky Brabec. Here he is.
Today was like kind of one of those days where I could make a big push on the overall, so I don't know. We'll see what happens by the end of the day. I know one of my teammates crashed, so another one of my teammates stopped with them, so I'm sure he'll get some time back. But I'm here at the finish. A couple stages left to go, so that's a positive note, and I get to ride dirt bikes. So
What to expect for the last stages, for the classification? What's your goal now?
I think the race is over on stage 10. Once people do what they're going to do on stage 10, that'll decide who's going to win on stage the Dakar. Really, the last day is for nothing, and then stage 11 is a big dune day. So whatever happens on 10 is going to decide the winner. But I'm here. I'm happy. I'm healthy. Ready to go.
Happy, healthy, ready to go.
Yeah.
Good to hear from Ricky.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, his take on the rest of the week. Stage 10 is that short, I think 115 kilometer stage. So he's expecting that to be kind of with a possibility to have an influence in the race. Mm-hmm. Stage 11 is a big long dune day. I still think that there's potential for some time to be lost in those dunes. If a guy starts far enough back, they can make up a fair amount of time. Uh-huh. But I think he also sees, where Sanders is and how he's finishing every day, and realizes that if Sanders goes into that last day 11 riding from the back, nobody's gonna beat him.
Yeah. Empty quarter, again, for people that don't know, it's just all dunes, all wide open, not a lot of track, not a lot of rocky trail. It's going to be see a guy in the distance and try to follow his way over the dunes. And you can't really lose as much time unless somebody gets stuck, obviously, right?
Yeah, for sure. And, there's just not the junctions in the areas and the tricky navigation in the dunes. So it's pretty straightforward as far as navigation goes.
Yeah. Yep.
We're also getting some word from some of the teams in the bivouac that at the finish of today's stage, they took the top 6 riders to doping controls. So
more drama.
This is the first I've heard of this actually at the end of a stage.
Yeah.
I've heard of guys being called in to doping controls in some different world championship rounds and even at Dakar, but it's interesting to take the top 6 of the finish order and put them all, through doping controls. So
yeah,
I don't think it's going to have an influence in this race. I don't think that, these guys are anywhere near that, but, still interesting. And it's good to see that they're trying to, keep things on a level playing field.
Yeah. It could mentally mess with people, it's just another thing they got to deal with and add some stress to their program and just be like, oh God, what's going on? Why are we doing this? Like, why me?
Well,
why I just finished the finish line. What are you doing to me? Like, just another one of the things that you got to deal with every day. But also, you never know how these decisions get made and why they decided to pull the trigger on this stage and, what's going on in the background. It's intriguing.
The ASO has a lot of experience with this. Obviously, they're the organizers of the Tour de France. So, regular doping controls in Tour de France every single day for these guys. They even have to, do, out of season testing and whatnot. The rally is a little bit more under the radar, but these guys are athletes, and, anytime there's a sport, there's always going to be people that are pushing the limits. So we'll find out.
We'll find out if anything comes from this, and we'll keep you updated. Man, that would be a horrible ending to somebody's race after everything if they just got a positive test and had no recourse. And who knows how fast these things can even come out when you're in the middle of the desert and what the result. I mean, I would hate to hear this 2 months from now and be like, oh, the guy that was in third actually is DQ'd now and he's already planning the next race, and then they do a sample B test and a pro test, and then you're just like, what's the real story? Like,
that seems to be the way that these things go.
Yeah.
In following cycling, it seems like it's always, 4 or 5 days later, a week later, a month later. And so, unfortunately there's no like instant test that's going to give us a result straight away. So, but it's, another thing to talk about, another thing to think about.
Yeah. It's another thing that's actually happened down there.
We are going to try to get Jimmy Lewis on the phone here.
We're keeping our elite level of celebrity guests like really high this year. And this is going to be the first time that we just drop it down a little bit to get Jimmy on the show. I'm kidding. Jimmy's a legend in Dakar. Jimmy's a legend in American Rally. Like, love him or hate him, you got to love what he's done for this sport. And he's a motorcycling ambassador. Like, this guy wants more people riding dirt bikes specifically, but motorcycling in general. Plus, he's a Hall of Fame guy. Guy's in the National Off-Road Racing Hall of Fame or whatever that organization is called. I don't really
One of
follow.
those Hall of Fames.
Yeah, but he's a Hall of Famer. He's a mentor of mine. I worked with him at Dirt Rider for a long time. And we had a lot of fun. And you met him about the same time I met him, probably, and been hanging out with him.
I want to say I've known Jimmy Lewis for, man, I don't even want to say how many years, but
you're going to date yourself.
Yes, since I was about 10 years old.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. There you go. Nice. Well, Jimmy's on the ground in Mexico right now, and as you know, some of our sponsors like the Baja Rally, go to BajaRallyMoto.com, enter that race. Nora Mexican 1000, and obviously the Sonora Rally. You know, Mexico's really becoming the hub of North American rally raid racing. So people in cars and trucks and buggies, they can, and bikes, obviously, they can get real rally experience and be able to go to places like Dakar and get that dream come true. He's down there right now, pre-running course, and we're going to call him and try to connect with him. So here's our attempt at getting a hold of Jimmy Lewis. Let's buckle up, see if we can get him in his truck somewhere bouncing on a dirt road. All right, we did it. We used the internet and we went down to, are you in Mexico?
Yes, I'm in Mexico. You'll notice this when we start hitting the topes on the road.
Okay, we used the internet and we put a satellite beam up to space and then back down, and it found Jimmy Lewis because we all have a tracker on him, so we always know where he is at all times. And we found him, and this is Jimmy Lewis. Say hi to everybody, Jimmy.
Hi, Dakar Daily fans.
We have fans. There's that word again. Fans. I think you're our number one fan. Can you correct me if I'm wrong?
No, this is true. You guys do a great job. I mean, you have to get up early and look at each other, and that's problematic. Yeah. And then Quinn mostly does a really good job of explaining what's going on.
Mostly.
That's why we have him.
Sometimes.
That's why he's here. And I'm just here to ask dumb questions because I think a lot of people have dumb questions about this race, right?
No, they're not. They're not dumb because it's such an interesting race. And you hear stories from people that dream of going to do it, and then people like Quinn and myself who have done it. And we were at one point fascinated. We didn't even know what it was, but something about it fascinated us, and we wanted to go do it. And every question we had was dumb. In fact, when I went and did it, I had so many questions. I learned something every day that saved my life.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Very cool. So you're in Mexico, and I think you're working on Nora Mexican 1000 route. And let's chat about that, or whatever else you want to chat about. I know you got.
Well, I want to do all your
questions.
sponsor reads for you today.
Okay, you're going to do my sponsor. Thank you.
I'm wearing Climb right now, which is Climb Dakar Daily Podcast.
Nice.
I love Climb. I'm a Climb guy. And it's been really weird here because it's been really cold in the mornings. It was 44 this morning, and we were usually riding. And I have these nice mid layers that make riding incredible. You're comfortable, and then you just take them off and pack them in your Climb knack pack, and you're all good. So there we go. Climb, sponsor of Dakar Daily Podcast.
This is weird because I'm used to doing your job for you, and now you're doing my job for me. This is a new twist.
You know, Quinn might know this, and he probably feels the same way. I fired Jesse Ziegler.
That is not
at
true.
least in my head. That's the way I like to.
That is not true.
Look at it.
No. Fire him.
Anyway.
Yeah, I fire him every day.
Okay,
And then we come back.
Back to the Dakar stuff. So we are doing our course reconnaissance for the Nora Mexican 1000. So we are riding for your sins, and we are doing a lot of riding on stuff that we are disqualifying from being quality course. So we're doing a lot of incredible riding, really cool stuff, and then we're riding on stuff and we go, nope, can't do that. Got to find something better. So having a great time.
That's cool. Finding better course than just Google Maps. You're actually doing a recon of every kilometer out there.
Yeah, it's changing down here quite a bit. There's a lot more local races that go on, and there's environmental concerns and all these different things. And I would say if you really want to come down and have a Baja experience, it's not a tour. It's a 6-day stage race. It's incredible, and I put my heart into making a course that I want to ride because I have to ride it 3 times. And so I don't want to ride. If I ride one more hoop doo in my entire life, that's one too many.
Yeah, I learned that a long time ago riding with Jimmy. He would ride in these public riding areas where we were testing for Dirt Rider, and he'd be like, hey, when we get back, just tell everybody we rode here. And I'd be like, why? He goes, Because if we don't, they'll all come do our trail and it'll be all hooped out. And I don't ride hoop-de-doos anymore. I had to do that when I was younger, when I was hungry, looking for championships. I don't have to do that crap anymore.
We know Jimmy doesn't like whoops, so I think this will be probably some quality race course down there.
Yeah.
And I've spent some nights with Jimmy Lewis in the dark because he didn't want to ride 3 miles of whoops, so he rode 40 miles to get back to the same place.
So yeah, it's been fun. I mean, I love this peninsula. The people down here are great, and the riding. There's still some epic stuff, and we're finding it and stitching it together. And if anybody rode our course last year, they know. And this year we're probably 80% new, and I'm going to be just as proud of it when we're done. So sign up for come out and check us out at Nora. It's a navigation rally just like Dakar, except our navigation is much easier and it's designed for average guys. We're not trying to be tricky and anything crazy like that. We're trying to have you enjoy it and have a good fun time.
That sounds good. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I just got to get the time off from the boss at home, and Quinn's got to build.
Quinn, no hoop-de-doos. Bring that. Hey, and Alexander Smith finished second overall on a Ducati 900 last year.
Yeah.
I talked to Alexander actually yesterday at Malcolm's Memorial, and first thing he asks was, "Hey, are you guys really going to do Nora? Because I kind of want to go do it again."
This is how this happens. So these good bad ideas happen.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we build up some 890, 790 adventures or something and head down on the adventure bike this year. You know me.
Yeah. If I can find a free bike to ride, I'm in. Let's go. And Quinn,
you're such a journalist.
Yes, I am.
I got to figure out how to make it work related.
How do we make this work?
Let's see.
Durability. It's you're going to get 1,500 miles of durability in.
Yeah. Okay.
We can do a live podcast on the bikes. We just got to install some equipment and some headsets. We can talk to each other while we're.
Hey,
navigating.
they're gonna have that real soon. It's gonna be small enough to where you can easily do this. And I know I've been hearing guys talk about some of the cameras that they're trying to put on the bikes and things even in Dakar, with live broadcasting and this. I mean, there's so much potential. Things are going to change here real quick with a lot of stuff because of this.
All right.
Be cool.
Speaking of change, let's talk about this race and how it's changing. Quinn's got some heavy questions for you.
No, I want to hear Jimmy's take on the race so far because I know Jimmy's done a lot of training with Ricky and the boys out there, and also some of the guys that are in 4-wheel vehicles.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's. I think it's another typical Dakar, meaning we don't know exactly what we're going to get, and right from the get-go, they threw all of the the quick days and the long days and the those first 5-6 stages, depending on how you looked at it, kind of changed the way that stuff was happening. And they the teams have strategies and they think about it, but it sort of all goes out the window. And what happened was Daniel Sanders did what every rally rider wants to do. He went out and put 8-10 minutes on everybody. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that was the cushion in my time. And you wanted to have 8 to 10 minutes, and then you could just manage it. You just followed around the guy behind you. Mm-hmm. And I think with the way that they start now, it's different. You want to have maybe 20 minutes at least. So this is my kind of take on it. I think, of course I work with Ricky quite a bit. Ricky's riding a great race. He's the luck hasn't fallen his way at all this year. It kind of shows. That's when I don't want to say that they ever get lucky, because these guys are pinning it every single day. Yeah. And they're working for it, but it's going Daniel's way for sure.
Yeah. Have you taken a look at any of these opening bonuses and the way that this stuff's working? Have you been following that?
Yeah. And I mean, I think the organization's done a pretty good job of using that in allowing that to kind of play to play into it. But at the same time, there's so many different elements going into the way that those the opening bonuses are working out. And I think they need to mix it up even more. I mean, you guys joked it, because I think they need to do more mass starts. Because then the first guy across the finish line wins, and this right now we're in a big what do you call it? This teeter-totter, the yo-yo effect, where guys are leading out and losing a lot of time, and then the guys in back are rushing forward and making time, and the guys still don't seem to want to win the stage. They want to start like third or fourth and then try to come up and get opening bonus.
Yeah. Come up and share some of that bonus in the front. What do you think of these? I know you have a lot of experience in the digital roadbook stuff. You've been kind of, probably at the forefront of trying that stuff out in the real world. How is that shaken out? And did you expect, so many problems kind of to pop up from that?
Well, I think they're not having that many problems.
Yeah.
But in the quantity of how much they're doing and what they're expecting these devices, but it's been you can see that, because as Daniel's been having the problems, and I think a few other guys as well. Mm-hmm. And here's the problem is, and I don't know that we got the full story and exactly what went out, because, how would you even know if you're getting speeding penalties if you don't even know where the speed zones are? Mm-hmm. And because there's two devices, they have the tablet, and then they also have the smaller, the ERTF. And is that thing still beeping and telling them they're in a speed zone, or giving them a warning, the kilometer before, telling them that they're coming to the speed zone? So there's technically two devices on the bike that are both kind of doing similar things as far as tracking them.
Yeah.
And so
it sounds like they've had some failures with the ERTF. So they've lost GPS or, odometer and cap. And they've also lost the digital roadbook, but I think it's separate. And I don't know if the two are related to each other as far as the power source or something that's causing an issue. But, I've heard of failures on both devices, which is different, because generally the ERTF's been pretty robust, and we hadn't seen a lot of failures with that thing.
Yeah, they always, they can always, it may lose satellite for a little while, but they can always go back in and pick up the data, because it should always be recording data. Mm-hmm. But then, and here's, conspiracy theory guy here going, if you can make it lose connection a little bit, and then you can go do something that would be an advantage. And I'm coming from the side where when we're learning how, we're trying to figure out like what is going to be the challenge in the race, whether it's some different type of navigation style or a it's something the technology is going to change, or we look at the regions they're going to and we say, hey, we need to make road books that mirror this kind of stuff. So you're always trying to think. And so we're kind of wondering, hey, what happens when it goes out? And I think the organization, they're looking at it and trying to figure out how to give time back properly. But if they do that wrong, then people are going to make their devices break.
Yeah. Use it as a reason to get time back.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, we're gonna look and see where this guy kind of was and where he sort of would have finished. And it's like, if you're having a bad day, make sure your device doesn't work, and then follow somebody and get some time back.
Yeah, your day isn't as bad.
So and maybe there is some sort of and Quinn can even speak to this. You think about it, that device, maybe you could just take that device off, and they could still have the paper roadbook underneath it. And you can peel the device off and just chuck it, and then go back to the old analog way. Or you could have. I'm just kind of spitballing here because. But anytime there's anything new, people are really resistant to it. And I know they've been so resistant to this change for a while. But everything sort of has its fallbacks, and just because the screen goes blank, it's not as I've seen roadbooks smashed in a way where you couldn't utilize anything that was inside it anymore anyway. So, but that's it. But the fact that it can just turn off from an impact or a wire getting pinched is kind of strange. It doesn't require, but Yeah, it's evolution.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Speaking of evolution, hey, we had Heinz Kinnegartner on the show yesterday.
Legend.
Yeah, total legend. Like highlight of my.
Hey, give me his phone number because he owes me a KTM 50 and a stage win bonus from KTM back in 1997.
And that's what I want to talk about. Like you came in. What was your first rally? What was the bike you were on, and how did your like quick sort of journey get there? And then when did you see the big shift happen as we were working together and it went to South Africa or South America, and it's really evolved in a pretty short amount of time, really.
So you mean when they went from riding real bikes to girls' bikes?
I knew you were going to say that.
When they started sleeping in Barbie tent motorhomes like Ken dolls as opposed to on the ground like men.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
I joke about this all the time, but there's so much respect for these guys because the game has changed. When I went, and I think Kenny alluded to this, it was more like an adventure. And I rode a KTM 620 adventure my first year in 1996. I dreamed of going to Dakar from the first time I saw it. I said, hey, it's a desert race. I'm good at desert racing. It's a long ways. I love it. And I sold my soul essentially to get over there and rode. It was the purple. When you saw the pictures last year of Kenny or yesterday on the show of Kenny on that purple bike, I rode one of those. Cool. The year after. And it was in 96 and I was running in the top 10 and then I got diarrhea. And believe it or not, diarrhea can end your race.
I believe it.
You dehydrate. And then the real Dakar starts because I had to get myself out of Africa. And thank God for Franco Iturbis, or I'd probably be working in a slave mine in Mauritania. So we're at Mauritania. Franco got me out of the country. And but I went back the next year. And then this is when KTM started. Well, 96 is when they very first started their sort of customer program. I was kind of a pilot for a test for this. And then the next year they had a real customer program. And that, like he was saying, so many of the bikes were these production KTMs. That year it was an orange one. It was a 640, but it still had those bulbulous tanks that were under the seat. And it was a true customer bike. You could buy them back then, I think, for about $22,000. Wow. And so, yeah, I went over, and that year was Dakar, Agadez, Dakar. So we did a loop, and it was kind of a non-traditional route. And I literally showed up, went onto the boat, and got a bike that looked like it had just been rolled off the factory assembly line. I saw the plastic on the seat and the nipples on the tire. It just off the assembly line onto the boat, and here's your bike, Jimmy, go race. And they had factory bikes that year. The KTM, they had the ones that were more styled with the lower swept down rear tanks. And the factory bikes were, I think, 690s back then. They were bigger. It was the old LC4 motor. And I was just on the production privateer version. And like Kenny said, they were a little explosive. And I managed to get my bike to the finish line. Yeah. And that year finished fourth overall and won a stage. It was pretty cool. And it kind of showed the potential of where that program was heading at that time.
Yeah. They were key in developing sort of that customer journey into the race before anybody else even thought of that, because everybody else was like, nah, this is our BMW, pilot program, and Yamaha's here. We're not trying to sell bikes here. Yeah,
it was. I mean, there were a fair amount of guys on single-cylinder bikes, but the twin cylinders tended to be more like factory bikes or very special, custom-built stuff at the time. Kajivas, Ducati, of course the Yamahas, the ones that Peter Hansel used to race, and KTM all the while was planning to go the twin-cylinder route soon, and of course BMW was racing single cylinders and started having some success, making a single cylinder, which wasn't BMW's. They didn't want a single cylinder; they wanted twin cylinder.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I got to go back to Dakar in 2000. Right. So, it's a pretty cool journey. I mean, it was I was blessed to be able to be part of that time and see the places that we got to ride. And our race, it wasn't this little 12-day thing; it was 20 days long.
It's a real race.
Real race.
Yeah. So no, it's we weren't riding that hard, and I think it goes without saying, and some that maybe a lot of people, I couldn't come by. I mean, like, there weren't road books to go train and practice with.
Right.
You'd have to get your buddies, like, Quinn has talked about Bruce Ogilvy making these little 3-inch wide road books for when we were practicing for Nevada Rally. A road book was, I made my own big road books in my plastic and Sherby's road book holder to just go out and practice, because nobody even knew, all hand drawn, and no one even knew what these things were. We were using old Nevada Rally road books and stuff. And the guys today, they have, people on their team that make them practicing and training road books. And we have a group that we work with that we're building road books for each other and doing real specific things with it. So, with Jordy, with his guys, and Quinn knows this because he works closely, they're building their road books and doing real specific training. So it's like all sports, it's become more evolved, and the athletes are it's a different game. The bikes are ridiculous. And obviously Daniel is very happy with his bike. And I know, Jesse, how you wanted to know the what's special about that bike? How you can tell it's a factory bike?
Yeah, all of it.
I know. They wrap the frame in aluminum foil so that the aliens can't communicate with it and interfere with the signal.
I knew it. I knew it was alien tech. I asked Quinn in the first show. I was like, "What's up with these bikes? Is it alien tech?" And he didn't blink. He just stared at me like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
I'm pretty sure I know, but I like to keep my mouth shut.
Well,
sometimes.
I'll get it out of you guys sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe when I get my factory rally bike for the Nora Mexican 1000.
If you just hang out in Pahrump, you see everything.
Yeah.
This is true.
It all comes through Pahrump, the road to Dakar. How are your 4-wheeler golf cart drivers and your truck people and all your guys that are leading classes out there in their first year? Like, what's going on with these guys?
So I can't take as much credit as I've been given, especially with the Brock and Max. I mean, I'll take some of it because I did spend definitely some time working with them, especially with Max, just kind of coaching him. And a lot of credit goes to Andrew Short, because when Andrew was working with me and Ricky and training, Andrew's very analytical. And he, from doing some other golf cart stuff, and then seeing how that worked, and then also talking to Sean Berryman, who's now Sarah's navigator, and a lot with Kellen as well, and Johnny Campbell, who's been in 4 wheels, and I learned from these guys kind of what's going on, and so it's quite a bit different the way that the we'll call the important things that they need to work on, because it's very rare that someone in a side-by-side is going to be opening. I'd probably work a little bit different with somebody in a T1 or the what do they call in the main class this year now?
Ultimate trucks, cars, things.
Because they got to open a couple days. They're having their own sections of stages and things. And when I think even yesterday they had some issues where they said there was a problem with the road book. I don't know.
Problem with the guy reading the road book.
Yeah, I would say problem with reading the road book, because all of a sudden you don't have these awesome bike tracks to follow.
Yeah, they had to do that again today too. They were on their own course.
Oh, good. Yeah. So we'll hear about it. But I think that's good, because then when you have, and this is where Sam and Toby probably would really shine. Would be able to kind of open and figure stuff out. But we all saw what it's like when you get to look at a road book for a little while when somebody else is driving.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that feeling. Not too good, but
it's tough.
Yeah. Whiplash. But it's I think it's they're doing, I mean, Brock is an amazing driver. I mean, as well as Sarah is an amazing driver. And they I think Max is obviously doing a great job pointing him in the right direction. And I know Max was calling me with all kinds of questions. and he was doing what he was supposed to. He was making his own road books and writing some of his road books and making road books for Brock to go try. So they were putting in some work, and I work with. It's amazing. There's a lot of people in that field that I've worked with, and the guys that put in the work, I just tell them in the beginning, I teach them a lot of things, and then they have to come back and tell me what we need to work on, and then we'll develop and make specific drills and things for them to get better at what is causing them problems.
Nice.
Very cool.
Doesn't sound easy still.
No, it's tough. And
then with the whole, and Quinn knows this, when it's the communication, how do you communicate in the car? And, half the time it's, getting the driver to realize, hey, you have to be as good a navigator as the navigator. So when the navigator says something that doesn't make sense, you don't just do it.
yeah,
avoiding mistakes.
two brains in the car are better than one.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Jimmy, for calling in today. We're excited to see how this race.
Don't forget, and all the work that I'm doing, I'm using Rally Navigator software.
Yeah.
Which it'd be if this wasn't a video show, you could pull up the screen and show how you work and how you use it. Now, if you're even listening to this podcast, you have to at least download it and play with it.
Yeah.
And because you're kind of a geek, and if you're into this race, and you'll want to go make a road book and then share it with your buddies, and then you can be rally stars in your own little zone, and we need more people making road books. This is for sure.
Yeah, I think I always say it's the gateway to actually entering a race and getting into this sport even more and appreciating what these guys are doing, because that's the hard thing, is to put this into perspective that somebody can really understand what's happening every day and hundreds of miles every day. And if you don't look at a road book and go around your neighborhood even, or ride to your buddy's house on your bicycle, you won't really understand what they're doing. And all it takes is a few miles of watching road book notes to where you're like, holy crap. Okay, I get it.
Rally Navigator Mike Shirley's right here.
What up, Mike?
Mike.
VIP.
What?
VIP guest in the back seat.
I had it. Yeah, I had him hibernating in back here all the time. Hey, double take mirrors.
Yeah.
By the way, I have double take mirrors on my bike, but they're holding all my GPS units and stuff. That new double take version 2, the mounting.
Yeah.
Get that. I have to point out, there's another rally you can do. There's also Baja Rally. It's another. Yep. The more rallies we have, it gives the opportunity for people to come and do this kind of stuff, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to think of the other one Moto Minded.
Yeah.
Moto Minded. I'm so glad I have my Moto Minded Baja Designs mount on my bike, because we were out late the other night.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh no, I don't like riding at night anymore. No, I love riding at night, but not when it gets cold and not when we're so far from where we should be. So I had my Moto Minded set up to get me going there.
I've been there.
And so I just want to do your job for you, Jeff, because you went to all those meetings for me back in the Dirt Rider days.
That's right. It's finally paying off for me.
I love it.
And I went riding.
Yeah. Now we just need to do more riding again.
And hopefully we see you guys and everybody down here in Nora, beautiful Baja, and we're getting excited for it.
It sounds awesome. I'd love to be in that truck right now going to do some routes, but I got just important work to do in talking to Quinn.
Okay, see you guys. Have a great show.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy. We appreciate you and everything you're doing to help us get more people rally. And I think I got Quinn talked into racing it. I'm going to get him on a factory bike. I'm going to be his mechanic, which I'll be worthless. So I'm just going to be drinking margaritas and eating chips and salsa.
Yeah, we'll see if we can round up some support from within home to let us go race in Mexico. After my last experience in Mexico, I seriously doubt that anybody's going to allow me, including my bosses.
Including me.
But
nobody at KTM or your friend
Jesse. It's the happiest
Jesse.
race on earth, right? So it's
sounds better than the last time you went to Mexico. Just for the record, Quinn hit a stick in the road at the Baja 500.
It was a little bit more than a stick.
Okay, he hit a leftover tree stump in the middle of the road and ended up just waking up, with broken arms and punctured lungs and broken backs and things like that. And we all had to deal with that trauma in our life. So no more of that crap.
Yeah.
So tomorrow's stage, what's going to go on? Oh, yeah, thanks, Jimmy. Tomorrow's stage, what's happening?
All right, stage 9. So it looks like we have Could be possibly a little bit of a tricky stage. It's 357 kilometers.
Wow.
Kind of winds around from Riyadh to Harid. So looks like little bit of liaison in the morning, 112 kilometers. Then what they're claiming is 90% dirt tracks, 0 dunes, 7% stone track. So
well, you could get lost on those roads. We've seen pictures of these roads just like going all over the place. No rocks, really. Maybe a few rocks.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are backwards though, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they say 7% stone, but what they mean is 93% stone.
Yep. And so we're going to see Luciano Benavides lead out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, we'll have Daniel Sanders coming from the back with Edgar Canet.
Yeah.
Right on his heels. So
it's funny.
It's going to be exciting to see how the results shake out tomorrow.
It's funny when Daniel's like, hopefully I'm in mid top 10, and he's literally right where he wanted to be.
Yeah.
To lead tomorrow.
Finishing 7th today, so starting 7th tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great spot for him.
Yesterday's show with Keeney, we didn't have time for Q&A, Quinn and Answer, but we have time today.
All right.
And I got some good ones. You mentioned Mr. Quinn, you mentioned that the rally bike would be a terrible adventure bike because it's not made for like sitting down and cruising around stuff. But readers or listeners are curious, is there anything on those bikes as far as like future planning that gets its way into production adventure bikes or production enduro bikes? Is it a true test bed for production products that could be coming down the line or projects?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, everything that's learned, that knowledge is passed on, from motorsports to R&D. That's the way KTM works as a company, right? It's stuff that's developed in racing. You see things break when you're putting them under the stresses that these guys are putting them under. Same with Supercross, motocross,
right.
All this stuff. So all that information is transferred back to R&D, and they take what they can from it and try to put this stuff into production. So yeah, for sure, there's stuff that we learn from motorsports that goes back and makes it back to the customer, and then there's also stuff that's transferred from the customer bikes into the motorsports. So
Interesting. Do you have any examples of something like that we know about? Maybe like ride-by-wire throttle or some of the ABS systems. I mean, I know they don't have ABS systems on the rally bike, do they?
No ABS, but there's, they do have traction control, and
Wow,
some of that knowledge is transferred. A good example is the ride-by-wire. We've been using the drive-by-wire on the street bikes and adventure bikes for a long time now. And, when these speed limits came in, it was like, okay, this is really the only way we're going to be able to do this speed limiter is by having a drive-by-wire system. So, they took some of that knowledge and actually, using some of the throttle body from other production bikes within KTM, they started the development of the drive-by-wire system on the rally bike.
Ah, very cool. And if you think about it, it's not just simply like putting on an electronic throttle body. There's a whole computer ECU and software programming and all this advanced hardware that has to be integrated into a rally bike that didn't have any of that. Like it barely had any of that processing power before. It was literally just like a fuel injection and a mechanical slide on a throttle body. Now, introducing that would take the street R&D team probably integration. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're using, different ECU systems, and the traction control is running through that. And so it gives them a lot more flexibility to do different things and have different throttle responses for different conditions, and, different maps for the dunes versus the stony tracks and whatnot.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to see. I can't wait to see what comes up from these space bikes that they're riding now that nobody will tell me anything about, even though I know they're alien technology. Another question, not about bikes, but about people. What kind of physical conditioning do rally racers do? Like, what are they doing? They hit in the gym, endurance training, CrossFit. Are they MMA fighters? What are they doing?
Yeah. I mean, every rider is a little bit different, right? They all have their own program. Everybody's body is a little bit different. And, but these guys work really hard throughout the year. And I would say endurance is a big one. Yeah. A lot of them are cycling, doing, road biking, gym work. You have to have, like I always say, you have to have the strength and the muscle to protect your endurance. Okay. So endurance isn't any good if you don't have the the support system around it. And these are big, heavy bikes, and you have to be able to ride 400 kilometers and then be able to wrestle the bike out of the sand dunes.
Wow, yeah,
if you're stuck. So you need a good amount of muscle, but you also need the endurance to maintain that strength throughout the stage, and not just 1 or 2 days, 12 days,
2 weeks.
So they're doing a lot of endurance work. A lot of time on the motorcycle, of course. You just have to, and I would say most of these guys pretty exclusively ride the rally bike. Whether they're on motocross track, whether they're out trail riding, they spend a lot of time on the rally bike because it's such a different animal.
And they got to just be comfortable being at home on that baby.
Yep.
Almost like second nature. Great question. Great answer. Final one, which is, I've actually had this on my mind for a while, and I don't even know if you know this, but you know everything else. So on Rally 2, is there a limit on how many times you can enter Rally 2 or how many years you can run as a Rally 2 rider? Do you point out like a 250, 450 motocross class thing, or just how does the Rally 2 thing? Is there a limit that we know of where you're like kicked out? You're not a Rally 2 guy anymore.
That's a really good question. Yeah. And I don't know the exact regulation, but I know there is something that I believe it's points in the world championship.
Okay.
But it could be like a top 10 in the Dakar. We'll have to look that one up and get back on that, because I know there is some regulation, because I remember a few years ago, Mason Klein had basically gotten moved up out of the Rally 2 class into the Rally GP class.
Yeah, maybe it's a stage win or top finish in a stage. Well, it probably could be a top finish in a stage, but I don't know. Good. Yeah. We did it, guys. Congratulations. We stumped Quinn. Woo! We did it.
It's all that rule book stuff.
Yeah.
We gotta look at
we found his weakness.
Details.
We found his weakness. He won't tell us anything about the bike, so we're going to grill him with these administration questions. Awesome. Anything else we need to talk about today?
Man, I think we're pretty good.
I think we're really good.
Just looking forward to tomorrow's stage and getting closer to the end of this thing.
Yeah, it's going to get exciting, and we might think we know what's going to happen, but we don't know what's going to happen at all.
We know
it's going to be different. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. This is stage 7. I don't even know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, coming at you from Cycle News World Headquarters. And we're going to be here tomorrow again until this race is over, and then we're not coming back till next year. Maybe we'll be back before
That's
then.
right.
We'll got some bad ideas coming later. Thank you so much.